What if everything you've been calling delay is actually divine preparation, and the life you've been trying to force is already being formed in silence, waiting for the right moment to appear? Beloved, I want to speak to you with urgency in my spirit. There are appointed times in the unseen realm when heaven seems to open in a distinct way, releasing divine help, direction, and provision. This is one of those moments. You are not standing in an ordinary season, you are standing at the edge of supernatural supply. What seemed impossible for years can suddenly become possible in a matter of moments when divine timing aligns with your life. There is, right now, a spiritual flow of provision being released from heaven. If your inner being can recognize and align with it, you begin to step into an economy that is not governed by human systems, limitations, or natural rules. God is transitioning you from scarcity into overflow. The same God who fed Elijah through ravens, who multiplied oil for a widow in crisis, and who brought water from a rock in the wilderness, is still active today. He has not changed. And just as he commanded creation to serve his purpose then, he is able to position resources to serve your destiny now. Even if the world around you feels unstable or uncertain, heaven's supply is never shaken. Earthly systems may rise and fall, economies may fluctuate, and resources may appear limited, but the divine treasury remains constant and full. What is coming toward you is not dependent on human approval or effort alone. It is the result of divine alignment. When your life is positioned correctly in the Spirit, provision begins to move toward you naturally, as if drawn by an unseen force. There are unseen messengers working on your behalf. Divinely orchestrated opportunities, connections, ideas, and unexpected blessings are being arranged in your atmosphere. Things that once felt blocked are now being rerouted. Doors you did not knock on are preparing to open. Your name is being positioned in places you have not physically entered yet. This is not by accident, it is the result of obedience and alignment with God's timing. Your response in this moment matters. There is a covenant of abundance being activated as you trust and obey. God is inviting you into a deeper place of dependence where He becomes your only source. He is reminding you, be still and recognize that I am the one who sustains you. You will no longer need to chase provision. Instead, provision will begin to recognize and follow you. What once felt distant or difficult will begin to move toward you with ease because heaven has acknowledged your faith. This is a spiritual turning point. What is about to unfold in your life will not make sense to natural reasoning. It will go beyond logic, bypass expected systems, and silence those who doubted your journey. And when people ask how it happened, the only explanation will be that the Lord made it possible. So even now, as these words reach you, open your heart, position your thoughts, align your inner world with expectation. There is already momentum building around you. Seeds you have sown, whether in faith, obedience, generosity, or prayer, are not lost. They are forming pathways for future supply. Your declarations are shaping spiritual direction. The atmosphere surrounding you is already carrying the weight of what is about to manifest. I speak over you that within a short time, something unexpected and unexplainable will begin to unfold in your life. It will be clear that it did not come from human effort alone, but from divine orchestration. When a person begins to align their words, thoughts, and inner belief with heaven's reality, they step into a different dimension of living. In that dimension, lack loses authority, and limitation loses legal ground. This realm is not accessed through struggle or striving, but through alignment, becoming one with divine truth. It is not about forcing outcomes. It is about synchronizing your inner life with heaven's frequency. When your speech, your thinking, and your spirit agree with what God has spoken, you become a channel through which divine supply flows freely. Everything created responds to sound and intention. Even the universe itself was formed through divine expression. In the same way, what you consistently speak and believe begins to shape what you experience. When your words agree with heaven, they become keys that unlock unseen reservoirs of provision already prepared for your life. These are not limited by human economy. Heaven operates on a different system, one built on faith, trust, and divine order. It does not respond to fear or limitation, but to belief and alignment. This is why faith is so essential. Faith is the currency of this spiritual economy. It is what connects you to what already exists in the unseen realm. When faith is active, you are no longer dependent on unstable systems or unpredictable circumstances. You are connected directly to a higher source, that does not fail. As you continue to align with this truth, your mindset begins to shift. Fear gives way to trust. Scarcity thinking is replaced with expectation. Your internal world becomes fertile ground for ideas, creativity, and divine strategy. The Holy Spirit begins to release insight that brings direction, opportunities, and solutions that open new pathways of increase. Provision in this realm is not limited to money alone. It includes favor, timing, relationships, influence, and open doors. It is a complete system of divine support. When your thoughts are anchored in this reality, life begins to feel less like struggle and more like guided movement. Your inner agreement matters deeply. When your belief system is aligned, your actions begin to reflect it. You no longer live from survival mode, but from trust. Your decisions begin to carry peace rather than pressure. This inner stability creates an atmosphere where divine provision naturally flows. Even your environment begins to respond differently. Opportunities begin to find you. People are positioned to assist you without understanding why. Situations begin to shift in your favor at the right time. Nothing is random. Everything begins to align. But this alignment also requires surrender. You cannot hold tightly to control while expecting divine overflow. There must be a release of anxiety, control, and self-driven effort. In that place of surrender, peace becomes your foundation. And in peace, you become aware that what has been promised is already in motion. When you live from rest instead of striving, you demonstrate trust in the process of divine fulfillment. That rest becomes powerful. It clears inner resistance and allows what has already been prepared for you to manifest without obstruction. As you continue to walk in alignment with heaven's order, even your surroundings begin to shift in response. Favor follows you. Right timing surrounds you. The right people and opportunities begin to appear at the right moments. This is not coincidence, it is alignment at work. And when everything begins to align in this way, it becomes clear that the spiritual realm always precedes the physical. What you experience externally is always shaped by what is first established internally. When your inner world is aligned with heaven, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that reality. This message is released over you under the authority and declaration of Rabbi Torah Wealth Wisdom. The unseen realm ultimately shapes what becomes visible in the physical world. When your inner life begins to reflect the reality of heaven's abundance, your external life eventually starts to mirror that same pattern. In this understanding, heaven's economy is not limited to receiving outcomes, it is about transformation. You are not only someone who receives blessings, you become someone through whom blessings flow. As alignment deepens, your identity shifts. You are no longer just hoping for provision. You become a channel through which divine wisdom, resources, and opportunities are released. You are no longer striving to attract blessings because your life itself begins to attract them naturally. Prayer is no longer rooted in desperation, but carried with confidence and authority. You stop asking from a place of lack and begin to live from the awareness of divine supply already in motion. At this level of understanding, faith becomes your way of living. Every word spoken in alignment with truth shapes the direction of your reality. You begin to operate with the awareness that you are not simply reacting to life, you are participating in shaping it through belief, expectation, and spiritual alignment. You no longer function as someone fully dependent on worldly systems. Instead, you live as a citizen of a higher order, guided by divine principles and sustained by unseen provision. Within this spiritual flow, there are deeper principles that govern how divine movement unfolds, especially the principle of stewardship, timing, and discretion. Not everything that is revealed to you is meant to be immediately spoken or exposed. Some things are entrusted to you in private moments, meant to be protected until they are fully formed. There is wisdom in understanding that certain divine instructions require silence in order to mature. What begins in prayer is often fragile at first, like a seed that needs hidden soil before it becomes visible fruit. Premature exposure can disturb what is still developing. In this sense, silence is not suppression, it is protection. It guards what has not yet reached completion. When divine direction is given, it often requires a period of quiet obedience before manifestation becomes visible. This is because spoken words carry influence, and not every influence around you is aligned with what God is forming in your life. There is a sensitivity in early-stage breakthroughs that must be guarded carefully until they are strong enough to stand openly. This is why discretion becomes part of spiritual maturity. It is not about secrecy for its own sake, but about honoring process. The unseen stages of development are often where the most important shaping occurs. In those hidden seasons, what matters most is not public recognition, but faithful obedience. The unseen realm is highly responsive to obedience. When you act on divine instruction, even when it does not yet make logical sense, you step into alignment with a higher pattern. Many breakthroughs are not delayed by lack of promise, but by delayed response. It is not that direction is absent, but that obedience is incomplete. Throughout spiritual history, obedience has consistently been the bridge between promise and fulfillment. When instructions are followed, even quietly and without external validation, unseen forces begin to align circumstances, relationships, and opportunities in ways that support your direction. What begins as a simple act of trust can trigger a chain of events that leads to visible transformation. This is also why unseen obedience carries weight. When you choose to follow guidance without needing approval or understanding from others, you demonstrate a level of trust that strengthens your spiritual foundation. You learn to move based on inner conviction rather than external agreement. That kind of alignment creates stability in your journey. Hidden obedience is also a process of preparation. In seasons where nothing appears visible, something significant is still being developed within you. Character is being refined, perception is being sharpened, emotional stability is being strengthened. These internal adjustments are necessary for what is coming next, even if they are not immediately visible. There is also wisdom in timing. Just because something is revealed internally does not mean it is ready for external expression. There is a difference between receiving insight and releasing it prematurely. Understanding this difference is part of spiritual maturity. Timing protects what alignment has begun. Some things are meant to remain in formation until they are strong enough to withstand exposure. Just as seeds grow underground before breaking the surface, many divine processes require quiet development before public expression. In this hidden stage, pressure is not punishment, it is preparation. This is why silence can often be more powerful than speech. Silence allows what is developing to stabilize. It prevents interference, distraction, and misalignment. It preserves clarity. It protects direction, and it gives space for what is forming to fully mature. As you continue to walk in alignment, you begin to understand that nothing is wasted in the hidden seasons. Every moment of quiet obedience contributes to a larger unfolding. What is developed in private eventually becomes visible in public manifestation. What is cultivated in silence eventually becomes fruit in due time. The deeper your obedience becomes, the stronger your capacity grows. With each step of trust, your ability to carry responsibility increases. With each act of quiet alignment, your spiritual maturity deepens. And with each unseen yes, your readiness for visible breakthrough expands. In this way, hidden obedience is never empty. It is active preparation for visible transformation. What is established in the unseen realm eventually expresses itself in the natural world at the right appointed time. This message is released under the declaration of Rabbi Torah Wealth Wisdom. Every tear you've shed, every quiet prayer you've spoken, every decree made in faith when no one was watching, none of it has been lost. It is all remembered in the records of heaven. And in the appointed time, what was done in secrecy will produce results in the open that cannot be questioned or denied. This is the way divine reward works. What is cultivated in private is revealed in public. This is why Jesus taught that prayer should often be hidden away, in a private place, behind closed doors. That closed door is not a symbol of isolation, but of sacred encounter. It becomes a gateway where something deeper happens, where instruction is received, where clarity is formed, where direction is downloaded from heaven. In those unseen moments, God shapes what will later become visible results. What happens in that hidden space is not wasted time, it is formation. When you are alone with God, your faith is protected from external voices that might distort it. Silence preserves the purity of what you believe. It shields you from doubt, from opinions, and from the noise of conflicting perspectives. In that quiet place, your spiritual sensitivity increases, and you begin to discern direction more clearly. What once felt confusing becomes settled within you. It is in that stillness that many breakthroughs are conceived, not in noise, not in pressure, but in quiet alignment. When your heart is not scattered by outside influence, your inner world becomes a place where divine ideas can take root and grow without interference. There is also a deeper principle at work. Secrecy is often part of preparation. Not everything God places in your spirit is ready to be spoken immediately. Some instructions require protection, not publicity. When something is still forming, premature exposure can weaken its development. What is still growing in the unseen must be guarded until it is strong enough to stand in the open. Silence, in this sense, is not weakness, it is wisdom. It keeps your focus intact. It allows what God is building to mature without interruption. Many times, it is not opposition that hinders growth, but premature exposure. Obedience works in the same hidden dimension. When you follow divine instruction quietly, without needing validation or applause, you step into a deeper level of trust. You are showing that you value God's voice more than human approval, and that kind of trust carries weight in the spiritual order. Throughout Scripture and spiritual principle, obedience has always been the bridge between promise and fulfillment. What God speaks begins to manifest when it is followed with action. Not delayed obedience, not partial obedience, but full alignment, even when it does not yet make sense. In this hidden obedience, unseen processes begin to move on your behalf. Circumstances shift quietly, opportunities begin to align. The right people are positioned without you forcing outcomes. What looks still on the surface is often active beneath it. This hidden life is not passive, it is powerful. It is where character is formed, where discipline is strengthened, where spiritual maturity develops. And when the time of visibility comes, you are able to carry what God has prepared for you without breaking under its weight. There is also a discipline in timing. Just because something is revealed to you internally does not mean it is ready to be shared externally. Wisdom understands the difference between receiving and releasing. Some things must be carried quietly until the right season confirms them. In that hidden process, nothing is wasted. Every delay is shaping you. Every quiet season is strengthening you. Every unseen step of obedience is preparing a visible outcome. What feels like hiddenness is often formation. And as this process continues, you begin to realize that God is not only working on what you will receive, but on who you are becoming. The unseen work is often internal first, refining your perception, strengthening your patience, and deepening your stability. There is a reason certain things must remain concealed for a time. Not every environment can handle early revelation. Not every voice can understand what is still in formation. So God often protects what He is building by keeping it hidden until it is ready. Even Jesus modeled this pattern, choosing quiet places to pray, withdrawing from crowds, and often instructing silence after miracles. Not because the work was incomplete, but because timing matters in divine order. What is revealed too early can be misunderstood. What is protected in its early stage matures into something stronger, clearer, and more stable. This is why waiting is not inactivity, it is preparation. In the waiting, alignment is happening, connections are being arranged, strength is being built. What you cannot yet see is being shaped for the right moment. And when that moment arrives, what was hidden becomes visible with clarity and strength. There is also a deeper truth here. Everything begins in the unseen before it appears in the seen. The visible world is always a reflection of something that was first formed internally. That is why inner alignment is so important. When your inner life is aligned with truth, peace, trust, and obedience, your external life begins to reflect that alignment. What was formed within eventually expresses itself without. Nothing in the physical realm appears without first being shaped in the spiritual or internal realm. That is the order of manifestation. This is why hidden obedience carries such significance. It is the foundation of what will later become visible stability. It is the seed of what will become harvest. What you do in silence builds what will later speak loudly through results. What you carry privately becomes what others eventually see publicly. And in that unfolding, one truth remains constant. Alignment always precedes manifestation. This message is sealed under the declaration of Rabbi Torah Wealth Wisdom. In conclusion, the entire message leads to one central truth. Everything in your life is ultimately shaped by alignment. Alignment with divine order, with inner conviction, and with the unseen principles that govern manifestation. What begins in the hidden place is never meaningless. Every silent prayer, every unseen act of obedience, every moment of faith that no one acknowledges is still building something real in the spiritual realm. Nothing done in sincerity before God is forgotten or wasted. Even when there is no visible result yet, there is always unseen construction taking place. The foundation of what will later appear publicly is often laid in private moments of trust, discipline, and surrender. This is why secrecy, silence, and obedience are not punishments but preparation. They are part of a deeper process where character is refined, timing is perfected, and direction becomes clearer. Many people misunderstand delay as denial, but in reality, hidden seasons are often where the most important shaping occurs. What is not yet visible is still being formed. As alignment deepens, something powerful begins to shift. Your inner world starts to influence your outer world. Fear gives way to faith, confusion gives way to clarity, striving gives way to trust. And in that shift you begin to live differently, not from pressure or desperation, but from awareness that you are connected to a higher source of provision and guidance. You stop chasing outcomes and begin walking in alignment. You stop living from lack and begin operating from trust. You stop reacting to circumstances and start recognizing patterns of divine order unfolding in your life. At that point, life is no longer experienced as struggle alone, but as a guided process of becoming. The principle behind it all is simple yet profound. The unseen governs the seen. What is established within will eventually express itself without. Your thoughts, beliefs, obedience, and inner posture shape the direction of your external reality. Nothing appears in the physical world without first being formed in the invisible realm of intention and alignment. When your life is rooted in faith, discipline, and trust, you naturally begin to attract what is aligned with that state. Opportunities, favor, clarity, and provision begin to move toward you, not because you are forcing outcomes, but because you are positioned correctly. Alignment becomes the magnet for manifestation. But this journey also requires patience. What is hidden is not lost, it is developing. What is silent is not absent, it is maturing. What feels delayed is often being prepared for the right moment of release. Timing is just as important as belief, because even truth must arrive in the right season to fulfill its purpose. Ultimately, the message calls you to live a life of deeper trust, deeper obedience, and deeper awareness that nothing in your journey is random. Every hidden moment is part of a larger design. Every quiet season is part of preparation. Every act of faith is part of a bigger unfolding. And when the time is right, what was built in silence will no longer remain hidden. It will become visible, undeniable, and aligned with the purpose it was always meant to serve. This is the law of alignment. What is formed in the unseen will always manifest in the seen. And under that truth, your life continues to unfold with purpose, order, and divine timing, sealed in the declaration of Rabbi Torah Wealth Wisdom.